Hello, my name is Stephanie Marianne, and I'm an intuitive counselor and guide. Today I've been thinking about mountain climbing and how that can be equated with the self-awareness or spiritual development journey that many people are describing. And one of the things I've been noticing in their description that's been coming up and coming up in my sessions with others too is this notion of attainment. So let me explain it a little bit because I think it will be relevant for you too. If you imagine that many people have experienced through meditation or through things that they've done, a sense of, what would I call it? A sense of oneness and a sense of non-attachment to the illusion or the construct of who they think they are. And that comes with it an enormous, overriding, can't describe it, feeling of peace. And so many who've experienced that have had moments of that, or even some elongated time that they feel less attached to the idea of who they thought they were. Now this becomes a kind of achievement for them. So this is the ideas that they're trying to make those times happen much more frequently. And so that's the top of the mountain. Let's describe it as such. And for the purpose of this illustration, I'd like you to understand that at the top of the mountain, on this particular mountain, let's say, that you need absolutely nothing. And so what they're trying to do, though, in holding a need or a desire to experience that more of the time, first of all, they're holding need or desire, and that in itself is indicative of a sense of lack, and that only creates more of the same. But irrespective of that point, what they're doing is they're denying something, and something very important. So what they're finding is that things are rising up for them in their life, experiences that are seeming to belong to old patterns and fears and anxieties and sense of limitation, of not good enough, jealousies, all kinds of feelings are showing up currently for people. And they have this very similar response to it, which is like, why is this happening? I've done all of this work. I know what it is to be at the top of the mountain. I know what it is to be non-attached to the construct. I know I'm not this idea of self that I thought I was. Why is this occurring for me? And so then when they meet that, they actually resist it and deny it because it doesn't belong to their idea of who they want to be or even think they are. So it creates more resistance, and that creates more of the same. So what I want to say to you is, when we climb a mountain, to use that analogy, we discover things about ourselves along the way that are extremely important for being able to truly surrender to the so-called top of the mountain experience, which is, as I said, you need nothing. And we discover the things along the way that we don't need to carry, the things that we release, and we build our resilience, our ability to look at adversity and be less attached to it and just to respond to it rather than to react to it. We do things on that journey that are extremely important for us to be able to really arrive at the so-called top of the mountain. And so how that really relates to our personal journey is that many of us with these things that are rising up are not actually allowing ourselves to experience them because they don't seem to fit. And that for sure is holding us in that pattern that we created long ago. We vibrate at the rate of our lowest density at any given moment. So whatever you're holding of the heavier emotions or ideas of self, that is where you're vibrating at. So never mind that you may have experience the top of the mountain, so to speak. You're being held down there in the foothills by whatever is buried underneath. And so it's extremely valuable to be aware that if these things are showing up, they're asking to be met, as always, and to be met without judgment and a sense of having failed, and also not to resist it, to not deny it. It's there for a reason. And so refer to a previous video that I did on the subject of meeting pain, but it's relevant to this one as well. So, and in relation to mountaintops, I want to say there is really no such thing. That we're creation realizing itself in a multitude of forms. And as such, we're in a constant state of flux. And we can flow with an experience of oneness. But if you imagine if there is a mountain at all, then there's many, many mountains. Perhaps they're never ending. And when you don't attach to the idea of having arrived, you'll realize you're already, in a sense, there. So with that conundrum, I leave you, and I wish you well on this beautiful weekend.